Okay, hi guys. Sorry if this is coming too late, but we've had some issues with the Facebook Live. Hopefully somebody's letting you know what's going on the group, but we're going to post up the video. We're doing a recording because we're just fed up with Facebook messing with the way things work and making it harder for us. So hopefully somebody's watching and will take note. Big brother, maybe. Anyway, so welcome to Randall, Alison, and Michelle, who are joining us this evening just to talk a little bit about the big event of the week, which was the King's speech at the opening of Parliament, where the speech is basically normally used to outline what plans the government has in store for us for the next year. So I would like to just ask Alison, there was one bit that pertains to us that's quite important. And I'm going to ask Randall just to pull up his slide, and Alison, you can just read what that is, and I'll silence my phone. You got it?
Okay. So it says, my ministers will seek to raise educational standards and break down barriers to opportunity. Action will be taken to get people back in employment following the impact of the pandemic. A bill will be introduced to raise standards in education and promote children's well-being. The Children's Wellbeing Bill. That will become the Children's Wellbeing Act if it goes into law. Measures will be brought forward to remove the exemption from value-added tax for private school fees, which will enable the funding of 6,500 new teachers. My government will establish Skills England, which will have a new partnership with employers at its heart, Skills England Bill, and my ministers will reform the apprenticeship levy.
Okay, great. Thank you, Alison. So I'm going to ask Randall to give us a little bit of an explanation of what this means, because we didn't hear anything specifically in those words to suggest an impact on us, but actually there's some more notes behind it that we wouldn't necessarily have known about initially. Randall?
Yep, that's the way it goes, Juliet. The King gets just to give the headlines, and they've already prepared some briefing notes. And in a section on that, break down the barriers to opportunity, we had details about the Children's Wellbeing Bill. Originally, it was on pages 64 to 66, but they've taken something out of the bill, and out of the document, and if you download it now, you'll find it on pages 63 to 65. And that is 3 pages worth of telling you what the bill is about. But on page 63, fairly soon, you get told what the bill will do. And it's for very familiar words, creating a duty on local authorities to have and maintain not in school registers and provide support to home educating parents. These measures will ensure fewer children slip under the radar when they are not in school, and more children reach their full potential through suitable education. The next paragraph, which I haven't got the text for, is a repeat of, that's really a repeat of part 3, and the next paragraph is a repeat of part 4 in the schools bill. So that's what was said on Wednesday.
Okay, now, Michelle, does this mean that things are going to change, like immediately? What does this mean?
No, it means we have got time to try and influence, because at this stage, this is the bill, this is the initial objective proposal. It still has to get through the Houses of Parliament and through the House of Lords, and then get assent at the end. So there's still quite a journey to go. And in that time, amendments are made. We've not even got the wording of the bill at the moment. We've got the general headlines. But we know, as Randall just said, because of the headlines, they match things we've seen before. So back in 2022, we had the schools bill. We know what that contained. We then earlier this year, we've had 2 attempts at a children not in school bill, which again, we know what wording was contained there. And they're all very, very similar, which is why we have a very, very good idea what this means in reality for their starting point for the wording, even though we've not got that yet.
Yeah, I must say I do get a feeling of deja vu, because we've been here quite a few times in the last few years. But let's not assume that it's going to go away as it has in the past. We can never assume that at any time, can we? Can we talk a little bit about the impact such measures would have if these came into law? Can we just have a brief discussion on, because I think we can have a much longer conversation later on. So maybe just each one of you could perhaps share something that you feel would be impactful. Randall?
Well, that conversation's already been going on since 2009. Some of us have been involved in it since then. And of course, what it really means is that the state will take control of a parent's responsibility to provide a suitable education. And while in the, I think it was around the 2022 bill, or it could have been in the previous guidance, they said this will not become a licensing scheme for home educating families. It will do.
Yeah,
You just can't do it without making a licensing scheme.
Yeah, and perhaps
so parents
Alison
will need approval. Sorry, Julia.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say perhaps Alison can elaborate a little bit more on, once they have everybody's details, what that could mean in future.
Well, it could mean anything, couldn't it? Because I mean, they've already started creeping in with things that well, certainly Michelle and I consider to be unlawful within the guidance for home education. Things like minimum standards for English and maths and things like that. We've got this beautiful, elegant piece of case law that basically says that a suitable education, and that's the measure that we look at from a legal perspective using the Education Act 1996, Section 7, a suitable education is what a parent has to provide. And we have a definition of what a suitable education is, in that it should prepare a child for life in the community of which they are a part, but shouldn't foreclose their options to live outside of that community should they choose to do so. So it's all about parental choice. It's about making your children able to live in your community, but allowing them to leave and fly off wherever they want to be if they choose to do that. And that's actually quite a high bar. And what the government don't realise they're doing by introducing these so-called minimum standards is that they're lowering the bar. And they're making our education as naff as the stuff is at school, to use a technical term. And Michelle, Randall, Juliet and I have all just got back from the Global Home Education Conference, and it's been fascinating to see the impact of different legislations on the practice of home education across the world. We have one of the freest legislations in the world for home education. We need to protect that. Yeah, our very good friend Ignacy Grau at OIDL has done the Freedom of Education Index across the world to see how free, how much choice parents have when it comes to the education of their children.
And we are currently ranked 4th, but that could change. So.
Yeah, it could change, and it's really important we protect that freedom. So these ideas that it's all doublespeak. It's all 1984 stuff, you know. They say they're raising standards. What they're actually doing is they're reducing diversity. And when you reduce diversity and opportunity, you always reduce standards. And that is actually the impact of what they're going to do.
Yeah, Michelle, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, the other bit is interesting mentioning the Global Home Ed Conference. The reason it's so significant is if you actually, hopefully you will go and look at the briefing notes after this and look at the wording yourself. And if you go to page 65, it actually states that the UK is a clear outlier in comparison to Europe, Canada, Australia and New Zealand in relation to the lack of oversight of electively home educated children.
Amen.
So they, well, precisely from our perspective, but they start off with, that's why the registers are needed. Now, if you looked at the index, or if you look at what is available, they've got Europe in there. Some countries, it's banned in Europe. So for me, it's worrying that they've included that paragraph in this briefing, that they're looking to other countries that are more restrictive than here. And in some cases, it's not allowed at all. Now, I can't envisage in my lifetime it being banned, but the fact it actually has, looking over there where it's not as good, where people have not got the freedom to educate their child in the way that suits their child, to their child's abilities, their child's aptitudes, their child's interests, really, really concerns me, because why have they written that in there if they're not intending on going more than just a register?
So
In
what
a
I-
in a democratic country.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
at this point, what I want to say is that there have been hundreds of claims made about what the register is for and what the advantages of having it is. And all of those claims are complete baloney. And also, what we see written in the Times and in other newspapers and reported on the news, etc., is that, for example, it's a register of truants. Not a register of truants. People who are truanting, we try not to use that word because it makes it sound as if the child is choosing not to go to school. And in many of these cases, in the 1.5 million cases in England of children who are having difficulty attending school, and in fact the over 150,000 children, that's more than we have home educated, over 150,000 children in England alone who cannot attend school or do not attend school, who are registered at school. If they're registered at school, they are not going to be on this register, because this is a register of children not in school. Really, it's a register of children who are not supposed to be in school, who are not registered in school, except if you're flexi schooling, and then your name's on there as well. So, you know, absence is really complex, and that is actually what this government should be tackling. They should be tackling school absence and the reasons, more importantly, the reasons behind school absence, which are, on the surface of it, people would say they're complex. They're actually dead simple. Make schools nice, kind places to be, where children want to learn, where their special educational needs are taken account of, and bullying is absolutely not allowed by teachers or children, and we wouldn't have such an absence problem. It really is that dead simple. And then the other aspect of it is get some help for children who have mental health problems, and don't put them on to. I met a family a couple of years ago who their child had been put on a waiting list for grievance counselling because their father had just died, and they were told that the waiting list for grievance counselling was 2 years long. That's what we're doing to our kids.
That's if they even let them off school for the funeral for of a parent. It's got that bad.
It has got that bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to actually just let's go back to the timing thing. Randall, if you could perhaps just do a little rundown of what processes these bills normally go through before they actually get royal assent.
Okay, Juliet. Now we're hearing rumours that people thinking this is coming in August. We think they're getting confused. Can I just ask Michelle to say what we think they're getting confused with?
Well, what is happening in August is the attendance fine guidance becomes a statutory guidance, and that does come into August. So there is a change with regards to attendance fines, and I think that's where people are getting a little bit confused, in that they've heard a King's speeches going on, they've heard something's being in that line, but then they've also heard about this other thing, and it's just getting mixed up. So there is a change with regards to attendance fines, and that information that was non-statutory is becoming statutory guidance. That is changing in August, but this really won't be in place by August. There isn't a mechanism to do that in UK law.
And we have a small piece of law that's coming in, the Pupil Registration Regulations 2024. They come in the middle of August.
Oh yeah, that's 19th of August.
Yes, and the two things, the attendance guidance and the Pupil Registration Regulations, are intrinsically linked.
Right. Okay, we've got that sorted out. Nothing's going to happen in August. You can enjoy your holidays. And also the King's speech has got nothing to do with the elective home education guidance that we all worked on over Christmas and the New Year, It's nothing to do with that. That's a parallel thing. We're not sure when it'll come out. The new government may want to revise it. Absolutely no idea. So what's going to happen with the bill? Well, it's not going to be published. We're not going to see the text until it has a first reading event in Parliament. We don't know when that's going to be. That's not a big event. It's a very quick event, but what it means is that is when it will get published. Now, when will that be? My feeling is it's not going to be this side of the summer recess, which starts in a week and a half's time. So that's not going to be before the summer either. It could be once they come back. They're coming back to Parliament on the 2nd of September, but yesterday it was announced that they're going to break up to go away for 3 weeks to the conference season on the 12th of September. I would be very surprised if the bill is published in that 10, well, it's not 10 days, it's about 8 days because there's a weekend in the middle. In that 8-day window, I would very much be very surprised. It might be, but I doubt it, because this bill is a big bill and it's got lots of other things that they need to get in place. And remember, the election was rushed. So
Yeah, they can't just hand they can't just hand a bill as the Labour Party now in government, hand the wording of it to the Department for Education and get them to publish it. It doesn't work like that. It has to be gone through with their lawyers. It has to be gone through with their people who write legislation, doesn't it, Randall? There's quite a process.
There's a process. Plus, they're already copying some of the Conservatives' bills, things like the Hillsborough Bill, the Football Bill, and even to some extent the Digital Information Bill that we need to keep our eyes on. And my biggest expectation, I must be honest, is they will virtually copy and paste parts 3 and 4 from the school bill into this one, but other bits they won't be able to do. So we may not know the exact wording of the bill until October or even November. That's when I would expect.
Yeah.
The other end of the thing, they need to get it through Parliament notionally before the end of this session. Now, that's normally May or June. It may be delayed. It may go into November, up to October, November next year. We don't know when it will be. But even a government bill can jump over a proroguing of Parliament, and it can continue in the next session. So we're not sure, but my feeling is none of us will know what's exactly in the bill till autumn, early autumn, mid-autumn at the earliest.
Okay, so we want to move on quite quickly now to what some of the things are that we can be thinking about or actually doing. And I'm going to kick off by saying something that I'm going to be doing. I'm hoping to produce a short series of videos on reasons why a register is not a good idea. And that will help to give some arguments that if you're able to go and speak to your MP, which we can talk about now as well, that you have some, and also just talking to other people. I think so let's just talk a little bit about trying to go and see MPs. I think, Alison, you pointed out that actually the MPs are not necessarily all going on holiday right now, are they?
So MPs don't spend the entirety of what's called the summer break on holiday. They don't do that. They still have constituents. They still have stuff they have to do. You know, it would be foolhardy for them to do that. Plus, they've got to catch up. There's 300 new MPs. They're going to have to figure out who their constituents are and what they need to do, what their priorities are going to be. So let's make us one of their priorities if they're entering that period.
Yes.
I think it might be useful as well. When we were at the global conference, Juliet, Russ Hebert, who used to be an MP in Canada, did a session at the end, right next to my end of conference session, where he talked about things you could do to highlight things. And I think what we can reinvent his 13 steps, I think, that would be really, really helpful. So we can maybe do a series on that as well. But what he said, and that's stuck in my mind, is go see your MP, create a relationship with your MP. But more importantly, if you've got an MP that's a little bit tricky or doesn't understand or has no knowledge of the issue, go as a group. He said, take a group, not just one of you, because if it's a group, it's so much more powerful. And that is how he came to home education when he was an MP back in the day. That's how he learned about it, was a group of home educators from his constituency went to see him about some issues, and he got to meet the children and meet the parents and see the variety. And that really persuaded him that home education was something worth protecting.
Yeah, and you can also hold events. Maybe Randall can make some suggestions with that, and then you can, whatever you were going to say, you can carry on with.
I was going to say another thing he said, just to remind people, is he said of the 5 things that people normally do to contact an MP, the least effective is write them an email. And that is really important, that you realise that the other end of the scale is what Alison said, is what Juliet was going to talk about. Find ways to engage with them, especially as a group. And the summer is a good time. Is there a local fair, a summer event in your town or area? Watch out for your MP at it. Get there and watch out for your MP at it. Introduce yourself. And say, can I come and talk to you? Or will you come and talk to our group of home educators sometime? Remember, we've got a lot of rookie MPs. And they will know very little about home education other than what's been in the press. Yeah. And it's going to be up to you, the troops on the ground, to engage them before they get everything that's in the Parliament in their ears. Yes. And summer is a good time to do that. Yeah. And also, you know, they're only back for 8 days after the summer before they go to conference. So there'll be another thing there. So if you have a look at when the different parties have got their conferences arranged, and find a week when your MP isn't at conference and try and arrange something in the end of September, October that they could come to and speak to them and get them to realise that home educators are very motivated, genuine parents. They're not looking for the state to be babysitters. Home educators are people who want to take responsibility, not put responsibility on the state. They want to maintain it for themselves.
So the opposite of a burden on the state is what we're saying.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And this is important, and this is what we need to be doing. We need to be engaging now. And yes, ask them to come and speak. Put on some event, not back to school picnics would be an ideal time at that time of the year. Just do what you can. We can all do it.
Really important. Everything should be positive messages, not negative messages. Yes. Be polite, smile, you know, don't put your dirty smelly feet on a desk in front of them.
Yeah.
Which
civil,
did happen.
Don't shout.
Don't shout, don't get angry. You know, this is not the time to look like a rabble of unwashed unmentionables. We have to look informed. We have to be informed, and we have to be concise as well. MPs have very little time. You need to get your message across in 3 to 5 bullet points.
Quicker than what we are doing here tonight. I might add.
Way quicker.
And one easy, quick win is to point out the registers of deflection, particularly if you look at the amount of people where mental health's failing, where SEND services aren't provided, all the things they forgot to include that would genuinely help a child's well-being that aren't in this bill, but they are showing an easy win. Whereas if they've got that money, I want that money to go towards those people who are desperately crying out for help. And make it about, well, you've got to balance up the public funds. That's just a deflection. That doesn't help. That actually will take money away from all these people who are crying out for help,
Where the help
and
is
make it clear
needed,
to
yeah.
them.
Yeah, and I think point that out to anyone else who will listen, who is being affected negatively by the education system, because they can then go to their MP and say to the MP, but why are they focusing on this? My child needs that. And they can also change the tone of that conversation. And I'm going to add quickly before Randall comes in, is I'm planning a home education fair in my area where the children can sell their things and we can have some activities and sell our used resources. And I will plan to invite our MP to that. So things like that. So Randall, what do you want to add?
One other thing. Here's a tip again from the Canadian guy who'd become an MP, who was an MP and then became a home educator. As Alison said, MPs are very busy people, but there might be somebody in their staff who you can connect with.
Yeah.
Now, just don't think they're a message boy.
Mm.
They actually are the eyes and ears of different things. I just have to turn my power on, my battery's going low.
And he disappeared there for a minute there.
Yeah, he
I'm
said be
back.
nice to the staff. He said be
Yeah.
nice to the staff, because the staff are the gatekeepers and often the staff are the people doing some of the donkey work.
Yeah,
If you're not
yeah,
nice to the staff, you won't get anywhere.
yeah.
So
And
be nice to them and try and build a relationship with them. You can easily call them by their first name. They're usually only referred to by their first name. So you can do that. And some will be local, some will be actually in Westminster. So you can work on that. So that might be a little bit less daunting for some people
yes.
than actually engaging with the MP.
And I want to just reiterate Randall's earlier point. We have a lot of new MPs who have never done this before, who are eager to find their place and to have a cause, and are possibly more open to hearing from you than the more battle-hardened ones, or the ones who feel very safe in their seats. So this is really actually a very good opportunity to get in early. And I want to encourage you to do so. I'm going to end that now. I think, is everybody okay? No last comments?
Just one final from me. There was a debate today in the House of Lords.
Oh, yes.
We haven't got time to look at it.
Mm.
If I find time before I go away, I'm taking a bit of a holiday next week.
Oh, no, you can't do that.
I am. I will try and do a quick video and post it in various places on what was said today in the House of Lords around the theme of these registers.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Randall, for that. And thank you, Alison and Michelle, for joining us tonight for this bit of a discussion. Please watch this space. We will be back with more on this proposed bill, whatever it's going to be. So good night, everyone.
Bye.